This hangout is live. Hello, everyone. I am A.T. Russell, member of Twisted Core Press and 70S Books, headlined by Michelle Anderson-Picarella. Um, I write urban fantasy. I mean, you name it. I write short stories and I write novels. I don't think there's any genre that I don't or won't participate in. It all depends upon what strikes my interest. And today I want to have a conversation with a couple of my fellow authors, some you know well, and now I'll let Dawn introduce herself before we get into our conversation. Dawn, how are you?
I'm doing good. My name is Dawn Kirby. I write with Twisted Core Press and 7DS Book. My focus is primarily paranormal romance. I have a Serenity series that involves vampires, werewolves, wraiths, anything you can imagine. I try to put in there, and that describes me.
Um, I'm Michelle Anderson-Picarella. I get to write with these great people, part of Twisted Core Press and 7DS Books. Main novel coming out is fantasy, but I also write short stories with 7DS Books, and it seems that I tend to always go with Southern comedy when I write short stories, as opposed to any other thing. But like AT, hopefully in the future as I write more, I'll get to discover what else I can at least attempt to be good at. But so far, everything I've written, I've loved, so I can't wait to discover new genres to go into. Uh, and with that being said, I'm going to start it off with being an author, a new author. Um, all three of us met around the same time and started our ventures in finding a book home around the same time. And we all had different paths, different routes, and different things we needed in order to feel accomplished as an author. So that's the first question I wanted to approach this evening is, as a new author, when you come out as a new author, what does it mean to have a book home? What are you looking for? What is that desire that you sought out? And I want to start with AT and get his grasp on that point of view.
Well, Dawn and Shelley, this is the way I see it. Everyone has their own measurements. Me, I love writing stories, and the idea that I could write a story that someone else would like means a lot. And when you have the passion to write, it's inescapable, it's unavoidable. It wakes you up in the middle of the night. Sometimes you can't sleep, and other times you're so dog tired, but you got to get that story out. It's it's important to me to be able to write, and it's also important to me to be able to control what I write. Um, Pretty much like an independent author. Well, exactly like an independent author, but I also need a publisher or a place that I can go for author resources that will support what I want to do. And instead of telling me what I can and can't do, guide me along the path that I'm choosing. Now, that what I do may not work for all, but it's nice to have a publisher like Twisted Core Press that will guide me along as I go forward and try to accomplish my dreams. Does that make sense, Dawn?
hmm That makes perfect sense.
So is that something based on I mean, all three of us were with other publishers before we started this venture. So now that we have greater control, how does that look to you?
Well, to me, what I like with Twisted Core is that you're a part of the whole process. You don't just write the story and turn it in and say here edit it and then they change everything around or make suggestions and you have to go with it. It's more of a work together kind of process, right from the start to the finish, right down to the book covers. And you have a say in everything. You don't somebody just doesn't say, okay, you have to do this and that's the end of it. No discussion. And
Mm.
that's what I like about Twisted Core, because most places you don't get that. Most places it's you make the changes we want you to make, or that's it. And that's what I like about Twisted Core. There's a discussion there, and if there's a disagreement with something, there's a moderation, and there's a compromise. I guess that's what I'm saying that I like. There's always that room for artistic flow.
Would you, well, forgive me for interrupting, Shelley, because I know you're getting ready to go into yours, but Dawn, would you say that as an author, your voice rings louder than, or at least it's as loud as the publisher, meaning that you do have, if not 50%, sometimes 60% control of everything you do.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I like about Twisted Core Press. It isn't about the publisher, it's about the author, and most places aren't like that. I'm sorry, Shelley, please go
No,
ahead.
you're fine. Um, Now, I love what we do. I will say, when I came out as a first-time author, I think most of us, when we sit down and we write that first novel, we're nearing the end and we're like, this is going to be great, you know. Oh, this is going to be a major motion picture. Who's going to play this character? Who's going to play that?
Yeah.
Oh, this literary agent's going to love me. I'm going to tweet at them. They're going to think I'm funny. They're going to be all about me. Um, Big houses are going to fight, and I'm just going to wear a feather boa and sign autographs for my book that ain't even out yet. But when it came down to it, and it got time for business, which I think is a huge thing that we don't think about when we're first-time authors, is the business aspect. It's the wanting someone else to validate your book's worth. Someone
Mhm.
that says, yes, you're right, this is fantastic, and we want to be all about it. We want to stick our brand on it. And then you look for what brand you want. You seek either a literary agent or a publisher or whichever route you go that's got the brand on it that you want, even if in some cases that means making your own brand. I wanted a comfortable brand, but at the same time, I wanted something very significant. I wanted something known. I wanted to get out there with a publisher that had authors that I knew, and it didn't really matter to me if it was a big publisher or a mid-sized publisher. I just wanted to get out there, and I wanted someone that was going to support me beating down every door and screaming at the top of my lungs, I love this book, you will too. And I wanted a publisher that was going to do that right along with me. And I knew in my head maybe a larger publisher would be a lot easier to do that, because they might not go scream at people's doors, but hey, they might do an ad here, an ad there, promote it, and whatever. Um,
Yeah.
and so I did. I mean, it feels like you're stalking when you're a new writer. Like, I'm going to
Yeah.
watch everything this publisher does or this agent does, and see if it's a good fit. See if that's somebody, like we've talked before, AT and Dong. We've said it's like a relationship. Just
Mhm.
like you would want to get to know someone that you're going to date, or who's going to be your new best friend and go shopping with you. You want to to see if it's going to be a good fit. And I do think it's a little bit harder to see the exact publisher, the way it's ran. You can ask an author that's with them, whatever, but there's so many levels of publishing houses. And I know when I got my first deal, the one that I took, I talked to an author who loved it. And they had a cover that was great. It was brilliant. And we were close to each other, so we were going to tour the whole East Coast with our great covers and our great publishers, and everything was going to be wonderful. And signed the contract, happy dance, drank a bottle of wine and autographed it, because I had to autograph something.
Yeah.
Um, but then, by the time the process started, I realized this was great. It was everything I wanted, but I wasn't sure if I was changing what I wanted, or I wasn't into it enough to know what to look for in what I wanted. Because I did. I felt trapped. I felt suffocated. I felt like I had lost the right to this little baby that I gave birth to, that I wanted to beat people's doors
Mhm.
down with. Um, and it felt like my hands were tied. I could only do so much. My publisher did seem, the actual entity of the publisher seemed like impossible, like it was going to see odds. You could talk through your editor. You had an author liaison. You could do this, but hey, but I want to talk about this, and my liaison can't help me with my marketing plan and help me get these books to here to there. And it did. It felt very
Right.
cut off. It felt like a long journey, like somewhere the cord was stretched so long with the two tin cans you couldn't hear each other. Um, and it did. It's a sad thing to be in love and to get everything you want and wonder if you changed what you wanted, or if you even knew what you wanted to begin with. Uh, and there were great things, but it just felt like I wasn't home, like I was renting, but I hadn't made the purchase. This wasn't the forever home. And when you love a book, you want that forever home. You want the things that works for the way you need it to go. And it's really hard until you're in it uh, to know if that's the forever home, especially the way a lot of traditional houses go. because it's almost like secret societies. You know, you've got to get initiated before you know what the real deal is, and by the time you're initiated, it's too late to run. Because there it is.
Right.
So that was my idea of a book home, and I guess maybe it changes. Maybe you get larger, just like a family gets larger. I'm not sure exactly what happens with it because I think a lot of people can get the first time deal and they can be absolutely happy. You know, it really depends. I know I thought I did my homework. I know I thought I read every book and every article that came out that told me how to be a first time author. Um, but that
Well,
didn't mean it was going to bring me happiness.
well, Michelle, how about this? And Dawn, I'd like your comments on this. When we started out, the three of us, because we knew each other years ago, right? So
Mhm.
when we began, we had the same dreams, the same hopes that any new author and even authors that have been writing for a few years, we shared the same dreams. The agent and the big publishing house. Back then it was the big six. It's the big five now, plus Amazon.
Mhm.
Okay, and now Google Books and a couple other places are starting to come up. This big .com in China. Now, knowing that this industry, for example, authors used to be able to write one book a year, at best two books a year. Now, in order to hold your marketplace, your place marker, in fact, in that marketplace, you have to produce product at a much faster turnaround. Um, and I think for me, for A.T. Russell, the idea that I can write something, go ahead and get it approved by a group of betas, some with Twisted Core Press and then others on my own, and then once the
Mhm.
story is flatlined, once I've breathed all the life into this story I can get into it, it goes to an editor. The editor fixes it and tells me where I'm all completely jacked up and sends it back to me, and that's when I can pump the soul into this book. And when Twisted Core Press or 70S Books gives a platform to that new story I've written, it's a partnership like you were talking about, Shelley. You start to realize that business business doesn't have a soul. Business does not have a heartbeat. Business does not have a pace for the creator of a product. What business is this monstrosity that says this is how it's done. And in point of fact, you have small press publishers that do the same thing the big houses do. I'm going to be honest with you. Twisted Core Press, we're not huge, okay? We're not tiny, but we're not huge. And some of the machinations that those big houses use, for example, they can release a book cover and you have hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of readers swooning over it, like, oh, I can't wait till this book comes out just based on the cover. Okay,
Mhm.
I'm not that shallow. Uh, so I'll say that they can get away with that because that book is then going to be on not just Target shelves, not just Walmart shelves or Barnes and Noble. It's going to be in places that at gas stations and so forth. These books are going to be distributed all over the place. Okay. Well, the big five can do that. They have the resources to make that happen. Small press publishers have to find different vehicles in which to accomplish that same level of success. Well, for
Mhm.
me, knowing that I may never be the next whoever, I may never be the biggest A.T. Russell that I dream to be. But I do like knowing that I have control over the soul that I bleed in black and white. And I do know that I like having partners that not necessarily believe in me or necessarily believe in the story, but believe in the passion that I bring to the game. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah.
And Dawn, when you did Secrets, books one, two, three, and four, you wrote those a long time ago, and now you're piecing them together. You're putting them out one by one by one, and now you're on your third release, and I would dare
Right.
say that you've had a majority of control over the entire process. How does that make you feel? Does
Mhm.
that contribute to your desire to continue writing?
Oh yeah. Yeah, because the first experience kind of put me off. It was kind of like like Shelley said, that's your baby. You want to hold on to it. But I'm not so all about I don't want to take out a word here, or I don't want to take out, like, I know I need help in the editorial department, and I'm all for it. Editors, help me, please. But, as far as the way the story goes, as far as the lifeblood of the story, that comes from the author. And that's what I like about Twisted Core. They don't try to take the author out and put somebody else's voice in, because marketing-wise, it'll sell. You don't put something on the cover and say, this cover will sell the book, but your book itself, what's inside the book, won't sell. Because what you're selling the public is what's inside the book, not the cover. The covers just say, hey, look at me. But if you can't capture somebody with the tagline, the title, and the first page of that book, then you've already lost them. You've already lost that battle. And that's what I like, because like Twisted Core doesn't focus on just the, y'all. I mean, I love the covers that I have, and everybody that I've talked to loves the covers that I have. They're striking, and it's just they're awesome. That's always what I've always pictured for secrets. And I already have the one picked out for the fourth book, and that one's my favorite, and I just can't wait to see that one. But it's like everything I see, book tour or blog tours, everything is like cover reveal, cover reveal. Don't reveal the cover to me. What's gonna happen next? That's what I want to know. And that's where Twisted Core is different, because they're not all about the cover. They're about the entire thing. They're about the cover to go hand in hand with the story.
Hey,
And
Dawn.
that's what I like.
Hey, Dawn. Now you talk about the covers. Now I look at the covers of your book, and I just put them up. But I look at the covers of your book in comparison to the original cover you had, and I don't want to say bad about someone else's imagination, which is one of the things I really don't like. Somebody else's imagination is the equivalent of mine. It's mine. You can knock the story, but don't knock the author. Everyone's dreams are what they are, and they should be respected. But
Right.
having said that, the cover that you had may sell books to people that are looking for that kind of thing. But as I look at the three covers you have up here now for your Serenity series, I like them. But more importantly,
Mm-hmm.
I think the author has to like their cover more than anyone else. So how do you feel about the covers you're seeing? I mean, they're yours. This is a representation.
Oh, I love them.
Of you. Cool.
Yeah, I love them. I mean, and for you've read all three of the books. It's like for the eyes, the people. That's what the people is what I want to pull them in. Not a pretty sunset on the back cover, or I mean on the front cover, or pretty font. I don't a pretty font on there that says secrets.
Right.
I want the cover to show them as this is going to jump out, and this is what's in the story. So, and I love them. There's not one thing I can say bad about the covers. I just absolutely love them.
Well, you were really involved in the choosing of the images for all of the covers, which I think is important. It's like the name tag. A cover is really the name tag. It's like giving it a name. It's like Never-ending Story. Just give me a name, Bastion. And that's kind of what your cover is. And I know the story does. The story is greater. You can't judge a book by its cover, but at the same time, you kind of do. And if you look at a cover and you really hate it as an author, it's really hard to beat down people's doors and say, hey, look at this. This is my baby. But no, and I know you say you are really looking forward to the fourth cover, but it's going to take a lot for anything to get favorite over Deceit, because I still want to take the cover Deceit and make it a pillow.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion. All the covers are great, but Deceit's always going to be very special to me.
That's that stuff. Leave me out of it. But now, Shelley.
Yeah,
now,
Donovan's your guy. Donovan's your guy.
Yeah. Well, I want to take the time to show all of us off to some degree, particularly the two of you. Now, Shelley, you've got this story that I read At the same time, I read Secrets. In fact, right after I read Dawn's first book, I read Livian. And quite frankly, there was no cover associated with it at the time.
Right.
And as you know, and as Dawn knows, the stories that I read from the two of you, I absolutely loved. And Livian is one that I did love. And I don't read middle grade. I don't read YA. Um, Not because it's unrealistic to me, but it's just, I mean, I'm a big guy. I like a little bit of violence, some stuff blowing up. I mean, some mindless entertainment works for me, right?
Right.
And but your book is so much more than all those things, which is why it struck me. Livian was the type of story that's like, wait a minute, this isn't a child saving the world. This is a child growing up. This is a child growing into their own, recognizing who they are. And as they grow, instead of pointing their finger and saying, Mom, Dad, or all you other people, look at me, basically they grew up in front of them and said, look at you. You know, the child didn't have to do that. Here's what I'm talking about. Now tell me about this cover, Shelley, what that works with.
Oh, the cover, I fell in love with it because I wanted to bring something old into the new world. I'm going to flash back a little bit to my original cover. The first time I was published, it had to be a modern cover. It had to be something that people would notice as a very modern book. It's new, it's fresh, it's whatever. But I didn't want that because I remember certain books growing up in the 80s that were modern covers in the 80s. And if you look at them now, you're like, oh, look at that 1980s book. And I was very scared to death of that. And I loved old books. I grew up with old books, and this is a fantasy. I wanted this. Fantasy should be timeless. If any genre out there should be timeless, in my opinion, I guess this is what I write, I think it should be fantasy. There's no modern technologies. There's no this is on TV. There's no nothing. It's completely from scratch a universe. So I wanted to go with the old world leather looking books. And of course, being first time author in indie, I'm not going to come out with a leather book. But the look of leather, I loved it. And I was scared to death, that it just looked good touching it on a screen. But, I got the paperback just to make sure. And I can say it looks really just as good, just as old world. But I love everything that this cover represents. I love the oldness of it. I love the girl on the cover holding the heart because basically her heart's all she has and all she knows that she has. And I don't know if a lot of people notice it, but I love it when people do. If you look at the tree that she's sitting in, which represents her support, what she has, which is Ananias, the man who's raising her grandfather, you can see an old man's face in the tree, which I love that. I love just the way that ties in together and the darkness, but the beauty. It's not poppy. It's not bubblegum pop. It's not meant to. I wrote this book so someone that was 11 could pick up this book and fall in love with it, and so someone that was 68 could pick up this book and fall in love with it. And I was scared I didn't do it. And AT, when you came back and said, oh, I love this book, I was like, yeah, whatever. And then when you really loved it, I was like, yes, this is it. This is the fantasy. This has fairies and elves and unicorns and all these dragons. And I've got a grown man because,
Be
AT
careful.
was...
Be careful. I don't want to give out any spoilers, but I did.
Okay.
I did love that story. For example, and I don't mind stepping on toes here. Dawn wrote this story about this lady who came about a strange parentage, and she turns into this wholly encompassing, make it happen type character. And it was fresh, it was new, and it was similar to stuff that I was writing, and at the same time, of course, it's unique to Dawn. And a month later, I read Livian, and I'm like, okay, I like little fairies, I guess, being a knuckle dragon guy, I figured, okay, well, I'll give it a shot. And when we read stories, we think of unicorns being cool creatures, right? Well, that's not necessarily true in Livian. And like I said, I don't want to give out any spoilers, but I'm going to tell you what. I wasn't expecting that, you know. And
Yeah, no, me either.
right, and some of my favorite fantasy characters or paranormal characters are indeed dragons, and there are things that happen in Livian. You know, here you got this guy. You know, I read this story for middle graders, young adults, and like, really, you know, it broke my heart. Yeah, I talked to you on the phone about it. Uh, what happened in that particular part of the story, Shelley, that broke my heart, and I was kind of pissed off. Like, why did this have to happen?
I
You
was
know?
scared that you were pissed off over it, but I was so happy that I got emotion. That was
Oh
the
yeah.
greatest feeling ever. And I mean, not to sound funny, but you are a grown dang man. You're not just a man; you're a grown man. And I love the fact that this book was okay with you. That this book was more than okay with you because it's what I wanted. I wanted timeless. I wanted it not to hold any barriers. I'm writing fairies. I wasn't looking for a Barbie doll replica. I was looking to, blow
How about
everything out of the water. And
how about I'm guilty of saying, here I am, a man, knuckle dragon, and all that stuff, all those references I made to myself. But at the end of the day, I'm a reader, and you wrote a story that a reader liked. Like I've told many people, I go through 100 books a year, more than 100 books every year. Um, Reading is what I do. TV doesn't capture me. I love the Chicago Bears, but I like reading most. Um, so you capture the mind, the imagination of a reader. And I would argue that you have not only done that to me, you have done that to other readers. Now the question is, here's the question. Now, forgive me, ladies. I'm going to go ahead and get on my soapbox, and then we can move on. Now, let me share with you something that was done for me. Um, I'm very proud of it, and in a moment, I'll tell you exactly why I'm proud of it. As soon as I'm able to show it to you, give me just a second. Oh, nope, that's not it. But I'm proud of this for one primary reason, and that reason is that once upon a time I was with a publisher who really wanted me to approve of a cover that he was developing for me. And I really didn't dig it because I saw that two of the characters on that cover were reflected on so many other independent authors' characters, and I didn't want that for me. I wanted something different. You know how we all, like you said, Shelley, we dream of who's going to play this role. Well, I didn't want to put a character on the cover of my book. I have never wanted to put a character on the cover of my book that folks can see and say, that's who it is. And anytime you see it, it has to be that person. I didn't want to go there. And I wanted a cover that conveyed exactly what was happening in the book. So I'll share this with you, and then I'll tell you what it means to me. Okay?
okay,
Are you? Here we go. Now, this is my story. Are y'all seeing that?
not yet. There we go. Yes.
All right.
Not yet.
This
Yeah, there it is.
this is my story. I'm no
Ooh, I like
different.
that.
I'm no different than any other author. I have dreams, I have ambitions, I have desires. I'm a working man. I work to pay the bills and I work for a living to provide for my family. Writing for me is an escape from the reality that is life. All right? I love it. No negative review, no positive review can take that from me. My head is not going to get so big because it's always in another story. That's how I live. Now, as I look at my cover, the cover to my next book, the book I'm releasing, I
Yay.
see a guy. I know who that wolf is. I know what he's about. I wrote him, of course, right? But I know what he's about. And I see his sister and I see his mate. And in that story is such a tremendous wealth coming from a guy, such a tremendous wealth of not just compassion, but conveyed passion. It's I've got you. It's not the same old stuff that you buy off the shelves where it's he fell in love and he had to give up all these things. No, 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 no. My guy didn't give up anything. He gave up nothing. He gave all of what he was to the woman who chose him and in return, he gained a tremendous amount of strength from her love, from her passion. She's the only woman he could ever have. And as a result, instead of him, oh, I have to do this for you. No, 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 no. Every time he goes to bed, every time she touches him, every time she makes love to him, he grows stronger as a result of having his very own woman. Not one that can fool around, not one that might love or not love him, but one that has no choice in life, no choice in existence, but to love him because they are one part of a whole together. That's what I wanted to convey in a book cover. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to get that with a half-dressed woman, or I'm not going to get that with a man in his shirt off and his muscles flexed, holding. That ain't happening. Okay, that's not only is that not reality, that conveys nothing but, let's face it, sex.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, sex is either an empowering event or it's just something there to satisfy lust. All right, now that's the way I see it. So now again, that's the way I see it. I don't want everyone to see it that way, but I did not want a cover of mine to convey sex. I wanted to convey these are mine, these are my females, and you don't know how much strength I gained from them giving their faith to me. You know, you can't beat me. I'm alpha because they say so, not because I say so, and that's what I wanted to convey.
You got it. I love that cover.
I think you nailed it.
Well, the artist who did it, she's a tremendous artist. She actually held back for this cover, I believe, but the next cover is going to be something tremendous. But I'm so glad she held back because now on the back of the book there are two puppies. And I'm not even going to go into that. We'll get into that later. But she captured that smashingly. I mean, her success in capturing the puppies was spot on. But now that brings me to this. This is what success looks like to me. To me, success looks like the challenges that I faced with the other publishing partners I had told me exactly what Dawn and Shelley has both said. This is the way it goes. Go there. That doesn't work for me. This is my dream. This is my passion. This wakes me up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't like the idea of you telling me this is how it goes. I like it better when you say, hey, T, this is what I'm thinking. Give me some feedback. Okay? It doesn't have to be some long, drawn-out, month-long, 2-week-long, 1-week-long, several hours-long discussion, but it has, hey, I dreamed this up. Give me the opportunity to push it forward. Don't take it from me and say you know better, because point of fact, you don't. You know, I've already got challenges that I have to face. When folks see a black author, the first thing they think, oh, it's urban fantasy. It's coming up. Somebody made it good in the hood, and now they got out. That's not a reality. I have to tell people this is a multicultural story. Well, in life, that's a reality. You can't go to the store and not see anybody that doesn't look like you. Of course, that depends on where you live geographically, but that's a social fact. I mean, if you go out and you don't see any white folk and you're a black person, where are you living? And if you go out as a white person and you don't see any people of color, where in the hell are you living? Yeah,
I got lost and down that road one day, and I swore I heard banjos. You don't want to be there.
I ain't going there. I'm not that guy. But what I want to do with the cover of this book is to convey this wolf. You don't know what he is. You don't know what nationality is. But he's got two angels in his paws. And he doesn't empower them. They empower him. One belongs to him, and one is a result of him. And he's a result of them both in some strange, disconnected, conjointed way. You know, they make things happen as a result of the three of them being together. That's what I wanted to convey. All right. And what success looks like to me is that I achieve my dream, that I achieve a partner that works for me, I achieve a partner that not only works for me, but works with me and can guide me through a process that I wouldn't already know myself. And I've got several sets of eyes looking at a roadway that I can't even imagine. I see this, they see that, that, and that. That's important. That's what success looks like to me. Dawn, what does it look like to you?
Well, to me, it's a partnership. To me, it's everybody working together to help you achieve your dream, not take it away from you, and not make it their own, and not package it, market it, slap it on a bookmark, and sell it to somebody else because this looks good. To me, it's encompassing everything that you've poured your heart and soul into your books, and they love it as much as you do, and they embrace it as much as you do, and then say, here you go. This is what I did. I hope you like it. And if one person likes it, then I'm successful. If
Oh,
one person likes it, we're all successful. That's
exactly.
what it is to me.
And I like that.
Yeah, that's really well said.
Shelley, what does it look like to you? I mean, okay, let's be clear here. We know who we are. We run a business. We are partners with a number of authors, uh, and their success is critical to me, as it is to you, Shelley. But individually, what does success look like for you? And I don't want you, and forgive me for guiding you. I don't want you to tell me what success looks like through our partnership, but what does success look like for you as the individual?
Okay, well, I guess it's successful that I'm with a partner that knew to guide me because he knew what I was fixing to answer. Um,
Right.
so excuse me for a pause here for a minute. That's kind of messed up. Uh, no, success for me, of course, it's the authors. It's the partners, it's the authors. I do like the brand. I love what we've created. But for me, as an author, it's being able to do something with what I've created. Before I created something and it had a brand, had a logo on the spine, and it was out there, and it had a cover with big pink font and little pixie fairies on it.
Yeah.
That, but now it's home. It's not renting. Um, and I can do something with it. I can redecorate. I can take it out. I can invite people for dinner because I can take this book places I couldn't before. I have the freedom to be the owner of the book. And that's something I think there are publishing houses out there besides us that I'm sure do it, but it feels good to feel like the owner of Livian again, to feel like the mother and not the aunt. I kind of felt like my parental rights were taken away for a while, and it feels good to have my baby back, and it feels good to know she's in good hands because she's not just I'm not self-publishing. It is with a publishing house with multiple publishers and a community of authors just like I wanted that are going to help me that can go out and give me ideas or meet me for a retreat or help me get the word of my book out there. And sometimes it becomes so easy when you lean on a group, when you have the publishing home, when you're at home with your book, that you're scared you're screwing something up.
Yeah.
But then you can take a step back and look at everything, look at the people you're connected with, and you know you're home. It's okay. And I guess that's success to me, is looking at that book and knowing that
It's
it's not pink. Yeah,
it's yours. It's
it's
something you're
timeless.
proud
Yeah,
of, and
exactly.
from beginning to end. And I think that's it's essentially what the three of us are talking about. It's we created something, and we have a publishing style, we have a publishing house, and partnerships that don't take our imaginations away from us. Is that summing it up pretty close?
Pretty close. Yeah, I think what we're doing is everyone has their voice. Um, it's not a make your comments and they'll be duly noted. It's where do you see this going? What do you want? And we treat each other just like we do every other author because it is a business, but it's a viable business. It's you want repeat business. You don't want to say, well, I published with that publisher, so let me go somewhere else. I mean, that's good. It's always good to get your name out there and your platform out there, but you don't want to sit there and say, oh, they're not getting that one. Yeah.
Well, last
Yeah.
go round, last go round. That was supposed to close us out, but I
Oh,
want
well, you asked the wrong person to say something.
yeah, I want to draw out one last topic, and I'd like to endeavor to make it quick, but I want to draw this out because it's important to me. Um, and if the two of you don't want to comment, I absolutely support that. But this is something I feel very strongly about. If you go to the store, you can pick up a book off a shelf, tear the covers off, and read that genre from many different authors and come up with the same story. And what I like about Twisted Core Press is because we are not trying to fill a formula. The imaginations of our peers, the imaginations of our authors is their own, and that is what makes them different. And I suppose that at some day when someone gets tired of reading the same old stuff, whether it's good or not, but they're tired of reading the same old stuff, when they get twisted, they'll find something totally different and like, wait a minute, this is new. And one of the hooks I use, and Dan, our partner, told me something one day. It rubbed me all kind of the wrong way, but he was so true. And the truth hurts sometimes. But I take issue with many other urban fantasy authors who have werewolves and they have babies. Well, I'll be quite honest with you. I ain't never seen a wolf have a baby. All of them have puppies, as far as I understand. Um, now, is that such a small or is that such a large detail that we can overlook that and make them human when they really, in a theoretical world, in a science fiction, fantasy, urban fantasy world, they're not human? So let's not try to make them human. Let's not make them like us. Let's let them be, in a creative sense, let's let them be who and what they are. And either we can write to make them proud or we can write to make them disappointed in what they are. But let's let them be what they are. And I guess what I'm getting at is the difference of Twisted Core Press is what draws me to Twisted Core Press more than anything else. What draws you to Twisted Core Press? Dawn, what draws you to Twisted Core Press?
Well, the fact that it feels more like, well, like what Shelley said, it's home, but it's not just home for my books; it's home for me. It's everybody that's associated with it. It's not. Yes, it is a business, but it's also there's also so much give and take. There's also so much. Well, let's just sit down and listen to this, or I need your input, or you need my input, and there's not any. Well, this is the way it's going to be, and this is the only way it's going to be. It's like a family. Yeah, you're going to have your tiffs, and you might get a little upset with each other every now and then, but really, at the end of the day, you're going to kiss and make up anyway. And because you know that right or wrong, that's home. So
Yeah,
Twisted Core is home.
it's unconditional.
Right, right.
Shelley, why don't you take us out?
Okay, I'm gonna say it. Twisted is definitely me to the core. Uh, Business-wise, author-wise, it's everything I ever wanted. That's what you go out. You dreams don't come true. You make them happen. And I think that's what we're doing with Twisted Core and with 7DS. But I'm gonna end it with, as a reader, the one thing that I love about us is you never know what you're going to get. There's people out there that say, I only read happy endings. Well, if I know it's going to be happy, why am I going to read it? I want to be surprised if it's happy, surprised if it's sad. I only read things if it does it this way, only that way. Every book that we've put out has got some new spin that you've never imagined. And I have all ideas we're going to keep going that way. And I like shocking people. I like people saying, I never thought of it that way. I never pictured it that way. I like reading, and as a reader saying, well, dang, look at there. And I like that. And I like the people that come home with us, because I think you do have to be a little twisted to be twisted for. But
Right.
I think it works, and it's home. So I thank you guys, because it's been a long time coming, but we're making that dream come true.
That works for me. So this is what we'll do. There's going to be a number of people that have questions and comments, and I'd like us to be able to answer them uh, without giving up the stories. Um, so for those folks that are joining us in conversation, uh, don't be shy. Ask and talk about some of the things that you want to know, some of the things you want to share, and we're glad to have you. Uh, Dawn and Shelley, thank you for participating in this. We will pick this up and do something different in the future. Um, yeah,
Thank you, Auntie.
I feel
Oh,
good.
it's always a pleasure.
I'm in the right place, and thank you too for being my friends over the past several years, and thank you for following uh, our dreams and putting our dreams together. That's really nice. Thank you much.
Thank you. This has been great, you guys.
Thank y'all.
All righty, now let's have a good night and let's enjoy ourselves.
Bye.
All right, bye bye.
Night, guys.
Night.